So today we're going to talk about 2D and 3D animation and what the differences are. What does it mean to animate in 2D animation and what does it mean to animate in 3D animation? So I'm here on this website. It's bloopanimation.com. This is a great website to check out tutorials and just information about the animation industry. And here, let's see. So in this picture that it has right here, I bet you guys can tell me which character is designed in 3D animation and which character is designed in 2D animation. I bet you would guess that Woody is 3D animation and Abu and Aladdin are 2D animation. Woody looks a lot more realistic, and you could tell he's has different kind of space around him. He's not as flat as Aladdin is in Abu. So let's go down here and let's talk about 2D animation first. So 2D animation is a type of animation where you kind of really need to know how to draw. You need some kind of drawing skills because you're drawing every frame and then making it move over time. That's what animation is. It's pictures moving over time. So with 2D animation, we draw a bunch of still images and then we apply motion tweens to make them move. We're going to get into tweening later, so don't worry about that. But you'll see in 2D animation, you draw the first key pose and then the rest of the other key poses. Then you draw all the frames in between them. That's actually called tweening. That means the frames in between the major key poses. So if you come down here, you'll see this is a 3D animation. And then if we come up here, we'll see that this is 2D because it looks more flat. And you can see in this picture that he's moving around, this guy, in 3D space. So in 2D animation, we want to draw the character and then make it move each frame. And now there's 30 frames per second in 2D animation. So that's a lot of pictures you have to draw. Now in 3D animation, if you come down here, this is what it looks like. This is a character set up and it has a rig, meaning that all the bones and all the structures are already set in these systems, ready to animate its movement. Now this is a little more advanced too, so we're going to get into this later. But see, all the virtual bones and controls are already made for this character. So then we can start to animate it. And you can see the model, it controls every key position in its body. So in 3D animation, we're just going to control, it's almost like a puppet, like the character is almost like a puppet. You're just going to make the puppet move over time. It's great if you can draw, that's definitely a benefit, but you don't need to be a super master artist to start in 3D animation. And it's all about graphs and curves. So this looks a little complicated right here. This is called the graph editor, where you actually edit every single movement and every keyframe you set for the character. We'll get into that in a later date as well. So let's just start with the foundation. So 2D animation is flat, and 2D, if you can guess what that means, is two-dimensional. So there's just X and Y. And then on 3D environments is three-dimensional. So there's 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z. And we can move around in space. The character can spin around. You could see its back, you could see its front. It could turn upside down on its head. You could look from above and see the top of his head. So it's all in space. That's a different 3D, three-dimensional rather than 2D, which we see is very flat, like Aladdin. And if we went behind Aladdin, he would just, or on the side of Aladdin, he would just be thin, paper thin. So we're going to watch a little bit of an explainer video. And I'm not going to put the whole thing on because it does get a little more advanced, and we're going to save some stuff for a further lesson, like I said, and just enjoy the little explanation of 2D animation and 3D animation. I think the video gives a great representation of differences between the two. Okay, so let's click. I'm going to go back to the beginning.
When you watch an animated film, it's very easy to notice the difference between 2D and 3D animation. Anyone can point out that this is 2D and this is 3D. But what is the core differences between the two, other than the visual result? What does it mean to make a 2D animation as opposed to making a 3D one? Well, actually the making process is very different. For starters, to make a 2D animation, you need to be able to draw. Everything you see in a traditional 2D animation had to be drawn, usually frame by frame. For a 3D animator, while being able to draw well is definitely an advantage, it is not mandatory. When you're animating in a 3D environment, you move the character kind of like a puppet, right there on the computer. Alright, so what does it really mean? In 2D animation, you draw the first key pose, and then the rest of the key poses. Now you need to draw all the frames in between them. Notice when the guy's arm is covered by its body, it's actually gone. If something is not shown in 2D animation, you don't have to draw it. If a character closes its eyes, the eyeballs does not exist anymore until I draw them again. This concept is one of the big differences between the two types of animation. That's because when you're working in a 3D environment, all the parts of your character are always there, and you have to be aware of them. While in 2D, you just draw whatever is seen, and the rest is gone. Okay, so we all know that animating in 2D means drawing a lot. But what does it really mean to animate in 3D? How does it look? Well, let's see. This is a 3D model. It is rigged. That means that he is programmed with all the right virtual bones and controls to make it as easy for animators as possible to go ahead with animating it. Now, this rig might not be as complex as what the big studios like Pixar and Disney use, but it is made with the same principle and concepts, and the animation methods are kind of similar in all places. So as you can see, this model has controls in every key position in the body. I can grab one of the controls and move it around, but that only explains how we can move the model, not animate it. Here it gets a little bit more complex. Watch this window here. It's called a graph editor. 3D animation is all about graphs and curves. I know math and formulas don't belong in an artistic thing like animation, but here it is. Now this might...
Okay, so that's enough for that video for now. But let's open up some little review sheet here and just go over what we learned today. So these are important foundational terms that we need to know to start animating. So we have the difference between 2D and 3D. So we have 2 dimensions means 2D, and 3 dimensions means 3D. Definition: 2D represents an object with only 2 dimensions, that is, its length and its height. Then we have 3D, which represents an object with 3 dimensions, its length, width, and height. So we can move forward in space and back in space and left and right and all around. Then the representation, 2D is flat, right? So if we turn a 2D animation to its side, it'd be like paper thin. On 3D, it's alive and real. So it's almost like a real person or an animal or whatever you're modeling. Aspects in 2D are length and height without depth. There's no depth. You can't move in and out into a scene. 3D, there's length, height, and depth. You can. In math, there's x-axis and the y-axis. And in 3D, there's x, y, and z-axis. The geometry, meaning like the math involved in 2D animation, is rectangle, square, triangle, polygons. In 3D, there's lots more. There's cylinders, spheres, cubes, pyramid, prisms, etc. So that means like you can move around those objects. If you move around a cylinder, you can move around a sphere, a cube, you can just move, you can actually go behind them and in front of them and on the side. All right, so that sums up the foundational study on 2D animation, 3D animation. I hope you guys now have a little bit better understanding of what the differences are and what we're going to be getting into in this class. And then later on, we'll also get into the different kind of software we'll be using for each type of animation. And for a little homework and to do, I would like you guys to just send me one 3D movie that you know of and one 2D movie. So any film that's done in 2D that you guys know, I'm sure you know a lot, and then a film that's done in 3D, because I'm sure you guys can now know the difference between the two. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye.